Senator Leslie, welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So next week we're going to be listening to Governor Sandoval's State of the State, in which he'll lay out his vision and probably a little bit about the situation that the state's in now. In your view, though, from the progressives or the liberals' point of view, what is the state of Nevada?
Well, in many aspects, the state of Nevada is quite dismal. There was a new study that came out today, for example, that once again had Nevada ranked 49th in the country in terms of education. So we know we continuously are at the bottom of every list you want to be on the top of. And the only way to fix it really is tax reform.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about. You gave the Liberals' State of the State, or the counter to the governor's, or pre-counter to the governor's State of the State. And the major push of your speech was we need to tax mining more and we need to tax corporations. I want to read just something you say. If that happens, if we enact a nominal corporate income tax and we tax mining more, that we can create a world-class education system, best in the nation. But why do you think taxation will cure all the ills of the state?
I don't think it'll cure every ill, but the only way to move our state forward, to make progress in these areas, is to have more revenue. We are last, as you know, in everything. We have a smaller workforce. We're 51st in the country in Medicaid spending. You just go through all of the things that we're last in because we don't have enough revenue. If we taxed corporations and the mining industry as other states do, we would have enough revenue to really have a world-class educational system. I grew up in California in the 70s when community colleges were free, when the University of California was the best university system in the country. Now, unfortunately, with less revenue, that system has fallen apart. If Nevada had an infusion of revenue, we could build the kind of universities that would attract the kind of businesses that we want for our kids.
I guess there's two sides of that coin, though. You collect the revenue, but you also have to trust the people to spend it correctly. I mean, if we have all this money, what does the legislature do with it? What does the governor do with it? Would you trust these people to actually create this world-class system? Are they equipped to do so?
Well, I'd love to have that problem. I think with more money, we could attract even higher quality people. That's not to say that we don't have some very good people who love Nevada and are working here, but we're also losing some of our brightest professors, have left for greener pastures. We're losing a lot of kids my daughter's age, in their 20s, who are leaving the state and they're not coming back despite their love for Nevada because there's no opportunity here. The only way to attract the kind of business sector and the kind of businesses that we want to come here is to have a quality educational system. I don't know why we can't see that. We do see that. We recognize that, but we just have not had the political will to make the change that every study for the last 60 years has said needs to be made.
Well, it's interesting you bring up political will. In your speech, you call on Governor Sandoval to show the leadership that's needed to take the state through this. But what about your own party? What about Democratic leaders who, once again, are too afraid to utter the T word, the taxes, to say whether or not they would support a tax increase, which in your view would solve all of the state's ills. You know, they just came out with a plan for education, lower class sizes, full-day kindergarten, pre-K. They don't say how they're going to pay for it.
Right, and in my view, none of those things are going to happen. I support completely all the things they talked about yesterday. None of those things are going to happen unless we have tax reform. We can't afford it. I don't even see how we can afford what the governor wants to do with Medicaid expansion and some of the other things if we don't fix the tax system. There just isn't enough revenue. What's going to happen is they'll get in the session, they'll say, oh, these are wonderful things, and everybody will say, well, we just don't have enough money, maybe next time.
But nobody's out there saying that we're going to do this except for people not in the legislature.
Well, it's, you know, I'm not going to speak for them. I think there were a lot of Democratic lawmakers who came to this speech last night who told me afterwards they agreed with a lot of what I had to say. It's easier for me now because I don't represent anybody but myself, so I can have total free speech and say what I think a lot of them do believe. I called on the governor to lead because he is the leader of our state, and because we have that 2/3 rule on taxes, we can't get anywhere without having 2/3 of the legislature. So we need him to leave, to spend some of his political capital and doing the right thing that he knows needs to be done, which is fix the tax system.
Now, I need to ask you, you mentioned that you can speak for yourself now. You were defeated in the last election. Should that be interpreted as voters rejecting your approach to government, rejecting a corporate income tax, rejecting increased taxes?
Not at all. I mean, I lost by 277 votes, not that anybody's counting, so there are a lot of people that agree agree with me. What I learned during the campaign cycle, and what I've heard from people constantly since, is that they voted for me, they supported me because I was speaking out on these issues. So I think there are a lot of Nevadans. Nevada has shifted. The Democratic Party has shifted and has become more progressive. In Las Vegas last night, the place was packed. I was really very pleased with the kind of reception that I received down in Las Vegas.
If that's the case, why aren't we seeing a more progressive agenda being pushed through the legislature? Democrats have the majority in both houses.
Well, I think what we're trying to do as progressives from the outside is push that more. I think we will see more of a progressive agenda. I hope so.
So in the legislature, it seems that the governor and lawmakers have become experts at passing these temporary solutions that kind of, as we love to say, kick the can down the road. Once again, the governor has said that he will extend what was supposed to be a temporary tax increase. I want to read what you said about that in your speech. You said, quote, "Extending the infamous sunset taxes, which include a higher sales tax that falls disproportionately on middle and lower wage earners, is no mark of valor. It's the path of least resistance that won't amount to a drop in the bucket considering how far down Nevada has slumped."
Right.
Now, this was 2009 when this was originally passed. You were part of passing that. You were part of the leadership team, really, that crafted it. Your mentor and friend, Speaker Barbara Buckley, came up with this. Why weren't you guys protecting the middle class and the lower income then?
We tried our best to get a corporate income tax there. And what people forget is when we have to make these compromises, it's a compromise. This was the best we could do. It was supposed to be a short-term solution. It was not supposed to be extended year after year after year. But then the recession hit. We still are relying on gaming and sales tax, which haven't recovered, which are never going to be enough to pay for the needs of the state. So just because that compromise was passed in 2009 does not mean that is the solution.
But at the time, you crafted out protections, a tax break for business owners on the modified business tax for most small businesses.
Right. That was part of the compromise that we made to get the package through.
Is part of this focus on temporary measures, part of this run to the middle? You see Republicans, particularly this session and in the last election, moving to the middle on taxes and other issues. You see Democrats, again, afraid of saying the T word. If people were governing more from the extremes, would we see solutions? It's a crazy question to ask. But
well, it is, and this clawing their way back to the middle on the Republican side, we have never seen that much clawing back in recent times. That is a new phenomena, and I think the reason they're clawing their way back to the middle is because they realize that the electorate has had enough. So I'm hoping what the difference here this time is people say, I'm sick and tired of my kids going to overcrowded schools, not having appropriate technology, not having a roof that doesn't leak, and you legislators and you governor need to do something about it.
We have this pendulum of power that swings in the state. For a while it was with Republicans. It swung to the Democrats once Republicans started being challenged from their far right and governing from that far right position. Now you see Democrats being challenged from the left. Do you see that pushing the pendulum back? Is there going to be too much liberal ideas in the legislature that would swing the pendulum back to Republicans?
I don't think there's any danger of that, frankly. But I don't think it needs to be conservative or liberal. We all live here. We want what's best for our children. But I do think that unless we are willing to take on the tax system and have meaningful reform, nothing good can happen. We're just going to limp along status quo, saying things will get better tomorrow. And I think our kids deserve better than that.
Let's talk about the mining tax. You were a huge proponent of increasing accountability and increasing mining taxes in the last session. You were able to drag along your majority leader, Stephen Horsford, and really got a lot of measures passed through the last legislature. Both you and Senator Stephen Horsford are out of the legislature.
Right.
Who's going to be carrying that water this time? Anybody?
That remains to be seen. I mean, the mining industry is thrilled, I'm sure, to have me gone, but they haven't been able to shut me up yet. So I plan to continue talking to my former colleagues and getting the public to really understand that the mining industry pays 20% of their profits in Wyoming, for example, and they pay barely 1% here in Nevada. And they're removing a non-renewable resource from our public lands for their company's profits. And I think when people really understand and focus on the mining tax question, they will contact their legislator and again say, I've had enough. You need to fix this and fix it now.
And I want to get, we just have a few seconds left, but your opinion on the economic development push. We recently learned that Nevada is spending $30,000 per job in tax incentives to bring companies here. Is that a good use of money?
No. And I'm becoming more and more determined that we need to stop the race to the bottom with these companies that want to come to Nevada, bringing in companies, these violent video games. Instead of bringing in quality companies, they're not going to come unless we fix our educational system.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks again so much for joining us. I appreciate it.